Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to a new series of chinwags called Postcards. I've done Odium postcards and also chess comedy books. So if you're looking for Odium postcards or chess comedy books, you've slightly come to the wrong place. This is just postcards pure. I'm just going to show cards from my collection. Nothing thrilling. But nevertheless, please stay with it if you'd like to. The first I want to show you is pretty magnificent when you come to think about it. Look at this chap. Look, just look. What are they saying about him? It says Galileo Academia, and it's David's Michelangelo. Well, David's Michelangelo. I expect you've been photographed before and since, and this is in Florence, where I've never been. Nevertheless, that's a very proud head, isn't it? I dare say the curly hair can combat the bright suns of the Mediterranean. And he was a bright sun, wasn't he? Let's see what else we've got. Oh, here's a similar statuesque Poison. Now, far less well known than Michelangelo's David. What, artistically speaking, have we got here? I would suggest we've got someone who hasn't got no clothes on. This is done by George Colby in 1919, and it's in Berlin, so it's over 100 years old. Well, if that's really been done out of one piece of stone, I think it's amazing. Yes, I think that's amazing. There's no connection between the two. Oh, now, this is probably, if I had to guess, from a provincial gallery. It's the sort of picture which sort of is. I think that's a bit too cluttered, really. They could have reduced it. Do you think that's too cluttered? I mean, obviously it's a farmyard. This is by Mildre Butler. She was influenced by the Newlyn School of Artists and spent the summers of 1894 and 95 working with Norman Garstin, who probably introduced her to Impressionism. She took holidays in the area, and she liked the tranquil gardens in Kilmurry in Ireland, which is in Kilkenny. I don't mean Ireland's in Kilkenny, where she lived for most of her life. And it's a Medici card, which are predominantly religious. But I think that's rather good. Let's see what else we can find for you. This couldn't be more different, says he, qualifying a superlative. If it tried. My father would say, that's disgusting. I think it's really rather intriguing. Wall into Pieces, Broca 2 mouth. It's at the Phoenix, Brighton, 10 to 14 Waterloo Place, BN2 9NB. Well, don't go bothering to go around there because this was nearly 11 years ago. So if you were planning on going, you've got your wires crossed. It's a large-scale art event featuring music, performance, collaborative art, and creation and production of a magazine in real time. Well, I've made magazines in unreal time, and none of them have done very well. But nevertheless, I have. On the back, a butterfly and a similar face. I suppose it is in some anguish. This was a flyer for publicity I picked up. Not even a postcard, really, is it? Well, it's not a postcard, full stop. Now, here's something I do remember very strongly. It is interesting that the statue is only part of the card. in as much that you could almost go like that and not have wasted the card. So it's several points of focus, hasn't it? You can look through the window, which I assume is genuine, and look at the buildings outside, and they themselves form some interest, or can do if you can be bothered to look at all. This is by Eduardo Palozzi, and it's from 1987. And it is of the artist himself in the guise of, I think, possibly a servant. What's that in his hands? It looks like a tray. And if you want to go and find it, it's in Holborn, in London, of course. High Holborn. There we are. This card's a bit fainted because I'm a bit pale because I've had it on the wall and the sun takes the colour out of it. That's a good little tip, actually. If you've got some photographs and you treasure them, don't put them anywhere near the light because they will in time fade. Mind you, in time will all fade, won't they? Now, here's a card which I don't think would receive universal acclaim, since it attempts to put a sort of stereotypical slant on British society. It's about bingo crazy Britain. Is bingo crazy? Is Britain crazy on bingo? This is from the Caravan Gallery. I met the Caravan Gallery, who are a gallery that travel round in a vehicle about like Denham Rodney on Only Fools and Horses. And in the back, they have their paintings, and they were setting up in Southsea when I was there, and I went to see them and had quite a nice little chat. And I promised I would look them up. And that was about 20 years ago. And do you know what? I didn't. Anyway, there we are. That's just a bit of fun, but I think that's there's a bit of a message there. This is not advertising for the sake of it. This is somebody who's done a card to advertise their sale, long gone, the Reading Vintage Fair. And there's 20% off drinks, so I should get yourself along there now. Live music. And even Oxfam will be amongst the exhibitors. I don't know what this bloke is. He's going to split his trousers. If I was him and taking that pose, that stance, I think I'd undo my jacket button. But he obviously doesn't think so. This is the Purple Turtle Gun Street. Well, Purple Turtle Gun Street is quite near the Buttercross and is quite near the Butt Centre. And it's very nice in there. And here's something it's not grotesque. It's not quite what you would have bargained for in this collection. Heaven knows where the photographer was, or whether these animals have been superimposed. There's one, there's another, and over here. It's this won the Wildlife Photographer of the Year, and it's American, and it was a runner-up in the competition by Paul Suders. Paul arrived in Alaska for late summer runs of red and churn salmon to capture grizzly bears sprinting, splashing, stalking, and swimming for their prey. I think that's quite amazing. If it's not a bodged or set up job, it's even more amazing, isn't it? There we are. Just shows you that postcards, you don't have to go to these places, and you don't have to have them sent to you. You can find them any and everywhere. Now here's a double act, which takes us far from Alaska and grizzly bears and salmon. Who are these two ladies? Now come on, you know. That's my mother and that's my grandmother. No, it's not true, actually. That's Nora Batty. That's Edie. That's rather good, isn't it? It's Torheard, of course. Dame Torheard, as she insisted on being called. Well, that was her name, and that was her prerogative. As in Last of the Summer Wine. I'm a big fan of that series. Not all of the episodes are great. They aren't. But I like the idea of it. And I also used to think on Sundays when I was sort of getting ready, except not, getting ready to realise that I wasn't ready to get back to work. I'm bleeding, aren't I? Now here's something in a much higher league. Very snobbish thing to say. It's almost as if these two fellows are an afterthought by the artist. I think this is beautiful. This is by Alfred Sisley. I'm tempted to say that he is a lesser known English artist, but I haven't done any research. The small meadows in spring. Yes, the word small does spring to mind in a way. I think the small are the audience. And this is from 1880, and it's an oil painting that is in the possession, not necessarily on display at the moment, of the Tate. Would be the Tate Britain, wouldn't it now? I'll give you a tip. If you know of a painting that you're interested in, if you ring, or email nowadays, I suppose, the gallery and ask about it, even if they don't come back to you immediately, they love it to get things out specially for you to see. So, make the effort to say to them, because they are your fellow art lovers, they are, not only are they in business, but consider themselves the custodian, but they also, they like to interact with people. If only, I imagine, because, well, some of it's a bit dry as dust. Well, it isn't dry as dust if you go there and blow the dust off, is it? Just get another album. You wait there, I won't be long. Now, those of you who know me will know I like chess. And here we have some old guys playing chess. And this guy is kibitzing, to use a technical term. Not that technical. It's a German word. He's an onlooker, but he's commenting. Somebody did a photocopy of this for me, a large blow-up, and put it up in the office. And as a result of that, I had a colleague, and it turned out he was, like me, fascinated by chess. Well, this was given to me over 20 years ago, and I've bothered to keep it. It's called Your Move, and it's an oil on canvas, and it is produced by Woodmanstern. And it is, with the original was done in 1846. Giovanni Garinei. I'm sorry, I can't speak the language, can I? But that's what it says anyway. There we are. So, and that's a greetings card. Now, here's a very bold chap. I have to say in advance, I don't really like this card at all. I think he obscures the castle. We're seeing a castle wall, and up here, the castellation or crenellation. There's some lovely debates about which of the two is the most appropriate. This is issued by the Welsh government and is Conway Castle, which I visited about 5 years ago with my friend Sue. And she went up the stairs and walked along the battlements, and I didn't want to. I lost my nerve a little bit. Not entirely, but, I think I just had an ice cream and sat there looking overweight till she came down again. Now, this is part of the collection of photographs which I took in 1987, which, if you've listened to my little chin wags on Odium postcards, this is taken at the Basinstoke Canal and is one of the trees that's blown down, or appears to be. It may have a certain beauty or interest for you, but as to that, I don't really know. So that's not a postcard, it's just a photo I took, just an amateur thing. Now, who's this? I think the older you are, more likely you are to know. This is a card by Raymond Depardon. The Private Life, vie privée. It's a Parisian card. But who is the young lady on the bike? I'm going to tell you. This is a Tintagel. A card sent to me by my late aunt. I miss her a lot too. But anyway, this is a Cornish card. She says, I'm enjoying everything except the weather. And the cliffs are 300 feet above the sea. Is the legendary birthplace of King Arthur. Don't know how many other legendary birthplaces King Arthur had, but anyway. It's like Alfred burning the cakes, isn't it? It's just passed into legend. This is a Salmon's card, made in Sevenoaks, printed in Sevenoaks originally. I suppose that's where the factory is, isn't it? It's nothing great, but it is a record of a place which I'm sure has a certain magic, certain mystique to some. Those people who have the imagination. Ooh, now here's a little gathering. When you study arts, the first thing you're asked to do is to be able to categorize paintings, as opposed to recognize all of them. Well, here we have a group gathering. Society of Antiquities. Antiquaries. Excavation at Silchester. I went to an excavation at Silchester, done by Reading White Knights University about 5 years ago with David Coppin. Well, this is taken just before the turn of the century, 1899. And do you know what? They all look like they have done a pretty good job. And it's thanks to them and people like them that museums exist at all, doesn't it, really? Here's another quiz question. This one easier than the last one. Here's someone enjoying a cup of coffee whilst doing the splits. Who is this? Do you know I am love? It's Scylla. It's this Scylla Black. There she is. Died some years ago, which was a bit of a shock, most to me. Here's a sort of an advert. Look at this. Look at this. Aix-la-Chapelle. In France, of course. In Paris. Hypermodernism, hyper-realism, and conceptual art. Somebody explained to me about 5 times what conceptual art was. I still don't know, not really. We'll have one more card. This is one of the cards which I bought when I actually was on one of my very rare trips abroad. This is almost Pythonesque. I think I bought this, in fact, I know I bought this in Rome. Roma. Just quote an internet number. Doesn't say very much. There we are anyway. Hope you like. Well, that's the first of my postcards. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall be back with some more in due course. Meanwhile, thank you for listening. I've been James Pratt. Arrivederci.